You stole him! Bola screamed, grabbing Tiwa's hair and shaking her like a bell in church. As the sisters pulled each other's hair, their friend tried to separate them, but all to no avail. You were never good enough for him, Tiwa shouted back, landing a slap that echoed across the street and dragging her to the ground. The sisters didn't care who was watching. Their pain was deeper than the dust rising around their feet. Hello, welcome, and welcome back. Please do well to hit the subscribe button, like, and share this video with your loved ones. Many years before Bola and Tiwa were even dreams in their mother's heart, their parents lived in the busy, colorful city of Ibadan. Their father, Adekunle, was a calm, hard-working man with a sharp mind. Their mother, Morayo, was gentle but strong, with a smile that could settle quarrels and a heart that forgave too easily. But every sweet story has a shadow. Before Adekunle married Morayo, he loved another woman, a very beautiful, fearless woman named Sade. Sade walked like she owned the ground. Men followed her with their eyes. Women feared her beauty. She and Adekunle were inseparable. They planned to marry. Everyone thought it was destiny. But destiny has a way of surprising humans. One rainy night, Sade vanished. No letter, no goodbye, no reason. People whispered that she followed a rich businessman to Lagos. Some said she was chasing a better life. Others said she was pregnant for someone else. Nobody knew the truth, not even Adekunle. Her disappearance broke him. But life moves whether your heart is ready or not. Months later, he met Morayo. She was nothing like Sade. Quiet, respectful, simple. She loved him deeply and patiently waited for his heart to heal. In time, he married her, but there was a problem. Adekunle's heart healed on the outside, but inside, a tiny part of him still wondered about Sade. That tiny part became poison, a hidden poison he never shared, a poison that would one day spill into the lives of his daughters. Years passed peacefully. Adekunle and Morayo welcomed their first child, Bola. She brought laughter and calm. 2 years later, they welcomed Tiwa, fiery and strong. The girls grew up close, sharing food, clothes, secrets, and dreams. Nobody imagined hatred could ever enter between them. But everything changed the day Sade returned. As a successful businesswoman with money, charm, and a dark smile that carried old, unfinished stories. The moment she stepped back into their father's life, even as just an old friend, the seed of jealousy, comparison, and silent tension began to grow inside the family. And that seed would one day split the sisters apart. The day Sade returned, the whole street buzzed with whispers. She stepped out of a shiny black car, wearing bright red lipstick, gold earrings that danced in the sun, and confidence that filled the air like perfume. People turned to look. Children paused their football game. Even elders stopped talking mid-sentence. She had become richer, prettier, and more intimidating than before. When Adekunle opened the gate and saw her, his heart stumbled like a man who missed a step on a staircase. Memories rushed in, sweet ones, painful ones, forbidden ones. Morayo noticed it. She stood behind him, her hands shaking, though she tried to smile. She greeted Sade kindly, but inside her chest, a fear settled like a stone. She could feel trouble rising before it even began. Sade's eyes scanned the compound slowly, like she was claiming her old territory. "Long time, Kunle," she said, her voice soft but sharp enough to cut glass. Adekunle forced a smile. Yes, long time. Sade visited often after that. Too often. She said she only came to check on him as an old friend, but everyone could see the lingering glances, the sparks in her eyes, the unfinished emotions. And children always sense things adults try to hide. Bola, who was 6, noticed how her mother became quiet whenever Sade came. Tiwa, only 4, noticed how their father smiled differently whenever Sade talked. One evening, after Sade left, Bola asked her mother, "Mummy, why do you look sad when Auntie Sade visits?" Marayo almost cried, but she wiped her eyes and said, "Some people bring storms into your house, even when they come with sunshine." From that day, Bola watched her father carefully. She saw things even adults pretended not to see. His restless steps, the way his eyes followed Sade's car when she drove away, the confused guilt on his face. The tension in the house grew like a silent fire. It didn't make noise. It didn't explode. It just burned slowly. And out of that slow fire, small cracks began forming between the sisters. Cracks so tiny that nobody noticed them. Not yet. But trouble was coming, walking slowly on silent feet. And it would change everything. The sisters grew, and with every year that passed, the silent fire in the house grew with them. Even though they were still young, the tension shaped them in different ways. Bola, the first daughter, became protective, observant, and serious. She watched everything, heard everything, and remembered everything. Tiwa, the second daughter, became bold, outspoken, and emotional. Her feelings moved like rain, fast, heavy, unpredictable. At first, the cracks between them were small. When guests came, they praised Bola for being calm and mature. They praised Tiwa for being bold and beautiful. But sometimes, adults don't know the wounds their words create. Bola looks like her father, they said with smiles. Tiwa has her mother's face, they added. They didn't know those simple comments would grow into seeds of comparison. One afternoon, the family attended a neighborhood party. Music filled the air. People danced. Jollof rice and grilled chicken filled the long tables. Everything seemed perfect until Sade arrived. She walked straight to Adekunle and hugged him tightly, too tightly for a family friend. Marayo forced a smile, but her eyes dimmed. Tiwa, sitting on her mother's lap, felt her body stiffen. Bola, standing beside her father, noticed how his breathing changed. Later that night, Bola said, "Daddy, why do you smile more when Auntie Sade comes?" Her father froze. He didn't answer. Instead, he told her to go to bed. Bola went, but she carried the unanswered question with her like a heavy stone. The next morning, the girls played outside. Tiwa wanted to use her big sister's doll. Bola refused. "You hug Daddy too much," Bola snapped, though she didn't fully understand why those words came out. Tiwa, confused, pushed her. "Leave me alone." Their mother ran out and separated them. She didn't know the fight wasn't about a doll. It was about a house filled with unspoken fears and shifting loyalties. That night, after the girls slept, Marayo sat alone in the dark living room. Her heart was tired. She whispered a prayer. "Let my daughters love each other, no matter what happens." But destiny had already begun writing a different story. One that would twist their childhood, test their bond, and lead them into a war neither girl could escape. As the years rolled forward, like a slow-moving train, the girls entered their teenage lives. By now, the cracks between Bola and Tiwa had widened. They still laughed together sometimes, But their smiles no longer reached their eyes. Something deep and invisible had changed. Bola noticed things. Tiwa reacted to things. And their parents? They tried to pretend everything was fine. But life does not hide the truth forever. One quiet evening, when Bola was 16 and Tiwa was 14, they overheard their parents arguing in the living room. Their voices were low at first, but pain pushed the words higher. Morayo's voice broke. "You are letting that woman return into our lives. What do you want, Kunle? Tell me." Adekunle sighed heavily. "She needs help. She said she has no one else." "No one else but you?" Morayo shot back. "Why is it only you she can run to?" Tiwa stood by the door, trembling. Bola pulled her back, but she kept listening. Then Morayo said something that froze the air. "Is she the reason we almost separated years ago? Should I tell the girls the truth?" Adekunle's voice dropped. "No, they must never know what happened. Not now." The sisters looked at each other. Their world shifted. After their parents stopped talking, the girls returned to their room in silence. But silence only made the fear louder. Tiwa whispered, "What truth? What happened?" Bola shook her head. "It's their problem, not ours." But in her heart, she felt a pain she could not explain. A new kind of distance settled between the sisters. Not one caused by childish jealousy, but by knowledge. Knowledge that something dark lay hidden beneath their family. The next morning, Sade visited again. She wore a long fitted gown and carried an expensive handbag. She walked into the house like she owned it. This time, she smiled at the girls. "You two are becoming beautiful ladies." But her eyes lingered on Tiwa longer. Too long. Strangely long. Bola noticed it. She didn't know why, but she felt the first spark of a jealousy she had never felt before. A jealousy that would one day explode into a war neither sister could stop. By the time Bola turned 20 and Tiwa turned 18, the sisters had grown into two beautiful women, living in the noisy, bright, endlessly moving city of Lagos. They lived together, but the closeness of their childhood was gone. Their smiles were polite, their conversations careful, and a quiet rivalry lived between them like a thin wall. Then he arrived. His name was Kamso. Tall, dark-skinned, with shoulders broad like he carried the whole world. He drove a silver Lexus and smelled like expensive cologne mixed with quiet danger. He moved into their neighborhood, and within days, the whole street knew him. Women admired him. Men respected him. Children ran after his car. But the sisters didn't know that this single stranger would set their lives on fire. One sunny Saturday, Bola met him first. She was returning from the market with a bag of tomatoes when she almost tripped. Kamso caught her quickly, his grip firm, his eyes warm. "Careful," he said with a smile. "The ground won't forgive you if you fall." Bola felt something inside her chest shift, something she couldn't control. Later that evening, Tiwa met him too. She was walking to buy suya when Kamso drove by. He stopped, lowered the window, and said, "Do you need a ride?" Tiwa laughed, her dimples deep, and he laughed too. From that moment, both sisters carried him inside their hearts, without knowing the other felt the same. Kamso, on the other hand, enjoyed their attention. He liked their beauty. He liked how different they were. Bola with her calm strength, Tiwa with her fiery charm. He flirted with both of them, not thinking about the consequences. But life always demands payment for careless choices. One afternoon, he mistakenly sent a message meant for Bola To Tiwa, I enjoyed talking with you today. You make me feel peaceful. Tiwa raced wildly. She smiled wildly, but 30 minutes later, Bola received another message. You're different. You make life exciting. The sisters sat beside each other that evening, each thinking she was the only woman in Kamso's heart, each dreaming her own private dreams, each hiding her joy. Neither knew the storm was already building. Neither knew the same man was digging the grave of their bond. Neither knew that the day they discovered the truth, their lives would explode like a pot forgotten on fire. The truth did not come gently. It came like a wild storm, tearing through everything peaceful in the sisters' world. It began on a humid Friday evening. Bola was cleaning the living room when Tiwa's phone buzzed loudly on the center table. Tiwa was in the shower, singing loudly, so she didn't hear it. Bola ignored the first buzz, then the second. But when the third buzz came with a preview message flashing on the screen, her heart froze. It was Kamso's name. And the preview read, "Can we talk tonight? I miss you." Bola stared at the phone as if it were a snake. Her breath became heavy. Her chest tightened. "No, it can't be," she whispered. Her hands shook as she picked the phone. The full message appeared, and the words were sharp enough to cut bone. "Tiwa, I can't stop thinking about you. You make my days bright." Bola dropped the phone as if it burned her fingers. At that exact moment, Tiwa walked out of the bathroom, her towel barely tied, humming a love song. She stopped when she saw Bola's face. "What happened?" Bola pointed at the phone with trembling hands. "Who is Kamso to you?" Tiwa's eyes widened. She grabbed the phone and read the message. Her silence was the answer. Bola laughed, but it wasn't a happy laugh. It was a broken, painful one. "So, all this time you knew?" "Knew what?" Tiwa snapped, fear rising in her eyes. "That he was mine!" Bola shouted. "Yours?" Tiwa's voice rose. "He told me I'm the one he likes." He told me the same thing. The room spun. Their hearts pounded. Years of jealousy, silent competition, childhood wounds, all exploded in one moment. "You stole him from me," Bola cried. "You think everything belongs to you," Tiwa shouted back. They moved toward each other, anger boiling, voices cracking. The walls of the house trembled under the weight of their screams. It was no longer about Kamso. It was about everything they never said, everything they never healed from, everything their family hid from them. The fight that started inside their living room did not end there. It grew wings. It followed them outside. It spilled into the open streets of Lagos like a cursed river. Bola pushed Tiwa first. Tiwa pushed her back. Words became insults. Insults became slaps. Slaps became full-blown battle. Neighbors rushed out, shocked. Okada riders parked their bikes to watch. A meat seller dropped his roasted corn. People formed a wide circle around the two sisters. "Leave my man alone," Bola screamed, her voice breaking like glass. "He was never yours," Tiwa shouted, tears mixing with anger. They pulled each other's hair. They tore each other's clothes. They rolled on the dusty ground like two wounded animals fighting for the last breath. Some people tried to separate them, but anger gives strange strength. The sisters fought with pain that had been stored for many years, pain older than Kamso, pain born from childhood, pain their parents never explained. Through the noise, a dark blue car slowed to a stop. It was Kamso. He stepped out, shocked, confused, terrified. "What's going on? Tiwa, Bola, stop!" he shouted, but they couldn't hear him. The sound of betrayal was louder than his voice. When Kamso grabbed their arms to separate them, they both turned on him with equal fury. "You lied to me," Bola cried. "You fooled me too," Tiwa screamed. Kamso's hands dropped. His face turned pale. For the first time, he realized the damage he had caused. Tears filled Tiwa's eyes. "Why did you play with us? We are sisters." Kamso stepped back, guilt swallowing him. I never meant—" "Leave," Bola barked. "Get out of our lives," Tiwa added. The crowd watched silently as the proud man who once strutted through the neighborhood now climbed into his car with shaking hands. He drove off without looking back. But even after he left, the sisters were not finished. Their fight had opened wounds too deep to mend in one day. Their hearts were burning, their souls were bruised, and the whole city could feel the heat. What they didn't know was this: their fight was about to awaken a secret their parents had buried for decades. A secret that would change everything. The city buzzed with the story of the two sisters who fought over a man. People whispered in shops, in buses, in salons, even in churches. But inside their home, the silence was heavier than iron. Bola locked herself in her room. Tiwa stayed in the living room, staring at nothing. Hours passed. Pain thickened the air. Their parents arrived in the evening. After hearing rumors from neighbors, Morayo ran inside first. When she saw Tiwa's swollen face and Bola's torn clothes, she broke down crying. "What happened to my children?" she cried. "Why are you fighting like enemies?" The sisters said nothing. Adekunle entered slowly, his face pale, his steps heavy. He looked at his daughters, women he loved deeply but failed to protect. For a long moment, nobody spoke. Then Tiwa whispered, "We fought because of him." Adekunle sighed. "A man?" But when Bola lifted her head, her eyes were red. "It's not just about him," she said softly. "It feels like we've been fighting forever, even before we knew why." Silence. A silence full of truth. Morayo sat down and covered her face. "Yes, it began long before your time." The sisters looked up sharply. Adekunle's voice trembled. "You deserve to know the truth." They exchanged a fearful glance. He continued, "Years ago, before I married your mother, I was in love with someone else." "Shade?" Bola whispered. "Yes," he said. Tiwa leaned forward. "Why did she leave?" Adekunle swallowed hard. "Because she found out she was pregnant, but the child wasn't mine." The sisters gasped. Morayo wiped her eyes, and when the man responsible abandoned her, she came back years later, broken, bitter, and still holding on to your father's heart. Adekunle added, "Her return shook our home. It affected our peace. It affected you too." Bola whispered, "So, the tension we felt growing up was never your fault," Morayo said. "It was ours," Adekunle admitted. The sisters felt something shift. The anger that had burned them began to cool. The confusion that once blinded them began to clear. For the first time, they understood. They weren't just fighting for a man. They were fighting the shadows of a story they didn't know. And knowing the truth was the first step toward healing. After their parents spoke, the house fell into a strange, quiet calm. The kind of silence that doesn't hurt, but heals. Bola and Tiwa sat side by side, not touching, but not pushing each other away either. They were tired of crying, tired of fighting, tired of carrying a weight they never understood. Morayo held their hands. "My daughters, the world will try to break you, but don't help it. You two were born to complete each other, not compete with each other." Tiwa wiped her eyes. "Mummy, We didn't even know why we hated ourselves. That is how generational wounds work, Mario whispered. If you don't face them, they control you. Adekunle sighed. I'm sorry. I failed you both. I allowed my past mistakes to shape your childhood. The sisters looked at each other, and for the first time in many years, they saw not rivals, but the girls they once were. The girls who used to share toys, food, secrets, and dreams. Bola's voice cracked. I'm sorry, Tiwa, for everything. Tiwa burst into tears. I'm sorry too, for hurting you, for fighting you, for letting a man come between us. They embraced each other tightly, shaking with emotion. Their tears mixed together, tears of pain, relief, forgiveness, and rebirth. In that moment, something old died, but something new was born. Days later, they decided to rebuild their bond. It wasn't easy. Healing never is, but they were determined. They cooked together. They prayed together. They talked about their childhood with honesty. They opened old wounds and cleaned them with truth. Eventually, they even faced Kamso, not as enemies, but as sisters. They told him calmly, "We choose each other, not you," and they walked away, because we will teach them what we learned. That love is stronger than rivalry. That truth is stronger than secrets. And that sisterhood, once healed, is unbreakable.
Let us know your thoughts concerning the story in the comment section, and also let us know where you're watching from. If you enjoyed this video, please give this video a big thumbs up, comment and like this video. Till I come your way next time, stay kind, stay blessed and stay safe. Bye bye.